In the sport of kendo, competitors attempt to strike each other using a bamboo sword known as a shinai. In Japan, close to 1.8 million people practice kendo, far more, for example, than the number who take part in the Olympic sport of judo. Kendo is truly Japan's most widely practiced martial art. In kendo, attacks happen very fast. Top practitioners can strike in just half a second. And some exceptional swordsmen take a mere tenth of a second to attack. A fast strike, however, is not necessarily enough to win a match. That's because in kendo, there's a special system of scoring referred to as ippon. Ippon refers to a point recorded for a successful attack and is only awarded when certain specific conditions are met. Firstly, the strike must be to one of the designated zones. These areas are specifically defined, and strikes elsewhere don't count. The only valid strike zones are the mask, the breastplate, the wrist guard, and the throat guard. As each swordsman attempts to gain the upper hand, they are constantly looking to strike one of these 4 areas. In some cases, however, even if the sword, or shinai, lands in the correct area, an ippon may not be recorded. That's because valid attacks require the use of a specific part of the shinai. All attacks must be landed using this area within 25 centimeters or so of the tip of the shinai. Kendo expert Alex Bennett is here to explain the reasons behind these rules.
If you can imagine a baseball bat, it's like the sweet spot.
Oh, okay.
So if you hit up here, that's too deep. So we struck the target with the correct part of the shinai with the angle of the blade. Correct, right?
Oh, there's an angle?
Yep, this is the back of the blade. If you can imagine this is the back, if I was to strike like this, that's like hitting with the side of the blades.
The tsuru, or bowstring, which runs down from the tip of the shinai, has to always be kept on top.
Yes,
As a swordsman strikes, they must shout out the name of the zone they are hitting. Correct posture is also essential.
If I stop like this, my opponent can attack me, okay? So this is...
Still going on.
Yeah, it's still going on. I've always got to be ready. That's called zanshin.
Zanshin is a central concept that embodies the depth and spirit of kendo.
If this was like real combat, which is where kendo came from, right? It came from samurai culture of combat and sword fighting. So after you've made a strike or you've struck your opponent, if you suddenly take your eyes off your opponent and you go, yeah, all right, I've won, cool, now it's time to go home, then quite possibly that person's going to get up and hit you.
Tracing the roots of kendo takes us back more than 800 years to the sword fighting skills used by samurai on the battlefield. The bamboo swords used in kendo today are modeled on the real swords of the samurai. A sword like this is sharpest nearest to its tip. For this reason, kendo practitioners are not allowed to strike with the portion too far back from the tip. The edge of a Japanese sword is only sharpened on one side. And it's for this reason that strikes with a shinai also require the blade to be the right way up. To fell an opponent with a single blow, all elements of posture, spirit, voice, and sword must move in perfect alignment. When peace came to Japan, the goal of swordsmanship moved away from actual fighting towards that of self-development through strict training. The requirement for zanshin reflects the need to remain alert and aware in all circumstances. In kendo, A poor attitude is also a sign of insufficient zanshin.
Zanshin is not only continued alertness from a survival perspective, but it's also showing respect to each other, to your opponent. Baseball, like you hit a home run, goes through the air and you go, yeah, right. Okay, because you won the match. So that's normal in most sports, but in kendo, if you do that, it's considered to be, one, you're forgetting kendo's roots, you're forgetting its traditions, and you're also forgetting the importance of the person that is standing in front of you that enables you to do kendo. And so it's considered to be very rude.
There are even examples of an ippon being disqualified because the attacker didn't show the appropriate manners. At this tournament, the competitor on the left scores an ippon. Pleased with his score, he allows himself a brief clenched fist. This was deemed to be disrespectful to his opponent, and the decision was reversed. This is a clear example of a lack of zanshin.
So matches where you win and sometimes you lose, they're not the ultimate objective. They're part of the journey. And so from the results of what happens in the matches, you learn things about yourself, which you can take to the next level of your study. So to get all emotional about little things and matches, whether you win or lose, is also quite embarrassing.
The most important aspect of kendo is internal growth as a person. It's not the strength to fell an opponent that's most valued, but rather the strength needed as a human being. Alex trains rigorously every day. We asked him to show us a powerful, well-executed ippon.
Yeah!
This one ippon demonstrates a number of different techniques and skills for overcoming an opponent.
Physically, by knocking his sword out the way, or also psychologically, by putting pressure on him and making him hesitate or freak out a little bit, in which case you have an opportunity to strike whatever is revealed to you.
Oh, so okay. You make the opening.
You make the opening. It's certainly not random. Oh. Yeah. Go in automatically. So that's why we train so hard, so that our body does sort of respond at the right time.
Competitors at the All Japan Kendo Championship showcase the highest levels of skill as well as intricate psychological battles. Every year, fans of kendo in Japan and overseas watch to see who will be crowned Japan's #1. Fighting his way through to last year's final was 28-year-old Hidehisa Nishimura, the 2015 champion. His opponent was 37-year-old veteran Ryoichi Uchimura, who had won the title 3 times previously. Uchimura, a seasoned competitor, is very hard to beat, using all of his experience to decide calmly exactly when to make his move. His favorite attack is to strike the kote. Uchimura tends to quickly close in on his opponent with a precision strike to the wrist. Of the 8 ippon he's scored in the tournament so far, 5 have been kote strikes. Nishimura too favors attacking the kote. In his case, it's his speed at judging the timing of an opponent's attack that allows him to find an opening. Of the 6 ippon he's scored in the tournament so far, 5 have been from strikes to the wrist. The final pits Uchimura and Nishimura against each other, with both men favoring the same technique. Incredibly, Nishimura, wearing the white sash, strikes his opponent's kote just 4 seconds into the contest. He scores by successfully attacking Uchimura with the red sash the instant he raises his hands. Uchimura then tries to close the gap between the two men, but Nishimura keeps his distance, quashing any opportunity for attack. Nishimura next changes strategy to attack the mask, or men, instead of the kote. But then eventually, he returns to his favorite technique, striking the kote once again. The whole attack takes only 0.2 of a second. Nishimura wins the quickfire battle to claim the All Japan Championship for the second time in his career. So how was he able to strike Uchimura's kote despite his opponent being on the lookout for such attacks? There are some specific reasons why.
Nishimura, as a competitor, has a very strong man strike. And so his competitors probably have a sort of the impression that he's going to strike their man, and they're quite guarded. And so that's the moment where he strikes their kote.
Nishimura wins a lot of his bouts by striking the kote, but he's also known for his skilled men attacks. Despite only one of them leading to ippon, he launched many men attacks throughout the tournament. Uchimura was of course keenly aware of this. In the final, Nishimura takes advantage of Uchimura's wariness of his men strikes and acts as if that's how he intends to attack. When Uchimura responds to what he thinks is an incoming men attack by raising his arms, Nishimura calmly goes in for the kill, striking the kote. The final is an intense psychological battle of thrust and parry. Let's take a look at what Nishimura does to confuse his opponent. Here, he's actually encouraging Uchimura to attack.
Okay, at that point, his opponent thinks, he's blocking, so when he drops his shinai, I am going to go and strike his man, which is what Nishimura was waiting for, because when he comes to strike his man, he ends up instead striking his kote.
Now let's take a look at the second championship-winning strike. Here, Nishimura succeeds by varying his attacking rhythm.
Between that interval where his opponent is thinking, now is my chance, he grabs it. So he ups the speed, he ups the tempo just as the opponent is about to change his tempo, nipping his opponent's technique in the bud and grabbing it for himself. So it's something like this. It's not exactly the same, but a similar sort of thing. We were looking at the rhythm and opportunities.